the biggest strike in the history of the world is currently underway, and virtually nobody knows about it. Certainly the British TUC haven't made much of it. Neither has any British trade union, so far as I have seen, opined on it. Not a single Labour politician has offered solidarity with it, at least not as far as I have seen. And I keep quite a close eye on all of these things. So why? When there's millions of people on strike, millions, with revolutionary demands, why would that not grab your attention? Well, only if you thought that India was not worth bothering about.
I think what you said is very important, which is that nobody outside India seems to be paying heed to this strike. Last year, before the coronavirus struck, the right-wing Indian government, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, pushed through in the upper house of parliament 3 farm bills, which are really anti-farmer bills, and 4 labor codes, including a labor code that increases the working hours beyond 12 hours a day. I mean, it's an absolute scandal. So on the 26th of November, 250 million workers and peasants conducted a general strike. Let me just repeat that number, George, because
yes,
I don't want people to miss that.
You better.
Yes, 250 million workers and peasants in India went on strike on November 26th. That strike catalyzed a farmers' revolt where tens of millions of farmers first began their revolt on the 26th of November and are quite well into their 4th week of revolt. This revolt by the farmers has taken place across the country. The government of Mr. Narendra Modi has tried to, come in and say, here are some concessions. The farmers have rejected the concessions. They want the withdrawal of these farm bills, which are essentially privatization of farming in India, and they would like very much to get the corporates out of their hair so that they can grow the food they want to grow and feed the people in the way that the people need to be fed, which is ecologically, which is sustainably, and which is without the expenses of food bankrupting people. The farmers have received enormous support from the Indian public. The government is on the back foot. That doesn't mean anything because the government in India, like governments in other places, have a lot of tricks up their sleeve, including creating fake farmer organizations to try to divide the farming community. It's not working, George. It's now into its 4th week, might go forward into a 5th week. Let's see where it goes. But certainly, the farmers are not losing their real fortitude in this fight. Fairly revolutionary. They want to have farming back in their hands. They don't want farming put into the hands of the large multinational corporations. Right after the 26th of November, when farmers mobilized in particularly the states of Punjab, Haryana, and parts of Rajasthan, as they mobilized on the national highways, the government put police forces, paramilitary forces to barricade the national highways to prevent them from entering. Well, what's interesting is, you see, it's a range of farmers, George, and that's what's important. There are agricultural workers who are landless, some of them small landholders, but also farmers who are mid-sized farmers who have resources. So they brought with them their tractors, they brought with them their sense of confidence. They used the tractors to attach the barricades and just drag the barricades off the national highway. Important to recognize that a number of police officers and military personnel have joined the farmers. Military people who have been given awards have gone to the government and returned their awards and said, if you disrespect farmers, you're disrespecting us. Because if you believe that we are protectors of India's borders, the farmers are protectors of India's food security. They are protectors protectors of India's food sovereignty. So we are not going to allow you to disrespect them. This is turning into quite a political problem for the Indian government. And honestly, with the government of Mr. Narendra Modi unwilling to budge and making this an issue of great prestige, I just don't see how this is going to go anywhere, but either that they crush the farmers with extreme violence or the government of Mr. Modi is going to have to roll back.
And I'm looking at it from a distance, but it looks to me that this is neoliberal reforms being pushed through by a neoliberal darling government whose purpose, certainly whose consequence, would be to consolidate land ownership and big agribusiness as king in India, which might be good for those, nice work if you can get it, but can't be good for the tens of millions of landless people, of small landholders, of mid-sized farm holders. Have I got that right?
You see, George, when in the old days, the term reform meant something. It meant that you improve a system, you improve
I remember
something.
those days.
Yeah, I mean, reform was a good word. Now, with the International Monetary Fund, with treasury departments and central banks around the world, they've taken the word reform and they've corrupted it. They talk now about labor market reform. They talk about, the market for agricultural goods need to be reformed and so on. What they really mean when they say labor market reform is all protections for workers need to be withdrawn. And I think this is why international worker solidarity, union solidarity is essential, because what's happening in India has been happening to workers all around the world. And I very much would like to see the Trade Union Council and others in places like the United Kingdom come out in solidarity with the workers in India. But also this idea of reforming agricultural markets, it essentially is a cover. It's basically a cover for delivering the entire agricultural system to large corporate houses, and many of them owned by single families. The family of the Ambanis, for instance, this is a family name that people should get familiar with, or the Adani family, very close cronies of Mr. Modi from Gujarat. The Ambanis, the Adanis, these small families will control the bulk of agricultural marketplaces. That's where the money is made. They're going to control that. And I think the farmers understand, if you allow just a few of these family monopolies to take over the marketplace, they will create a pricing structure that benefits them, that impoverishes farmers, and then destroys agriculture. Nobody, no human being is going to gain if the very means by which we feed ourselves is destroyed. And that's exactly what this kind of policy is going to do. It's extraordinarily myopic. Money will be made in the short term. Agriculture will be destroyed in the long term.